So my best friend, roommate, and soul sister, Emily, and I did our first trip together and didn't set any intentions, but were taken to a really rich neighborhood filled with mansions. On our second trip, we were also taken to a wealthy neighborhood. This time, we did set intentions of love. However, this is not what we found. This time, the pin was located on the only house in the neighborhood decorated for Halloween. But these were not cute and fun Halloween decorations. They were pretty intense, if you ask me. A lot of hanging dolls and possessed creatures. Anyways, we went home, and then this is where the real scary stuff goes on. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. with sleep paralysis, which I am very familiar with, because for one summer a few years ago, I had it 3 to 4 times a week. And I normally am not scared during it, but this time, I felt a very dark energy. I woke myself out of it by moving my fingers, a trick I learned that summer. I prayed for protection from God and gave myself a pep talk about not being afraid and went back to sleep. I woke up again at 6:30 in sleep paralysis, and this time I was lying on my side facing the wall where my white pillows should be. But instead, I saw a black square, like a TV screen, but I knew there wasn't a TV. So I woke myself out of it again and went to Emily's room. I woke her up and told her I was scared because I had sleep paralysis, and she said, "Me too." "When?" "Tonight." I laid down, and as I was trying to fall asleep, I was hearing a lot of high frequency tones at different pitches. Almost like if high frequency tones were a wind chime. All in all, it was scary, and we both independently came to the conclusion that it had something to do with our little trip. This was a creepy experience I had while randonauting. I was given a location of this relatively remote gas station. It's nothing sinister or anything. In fact, the exterior looked like it had been freshly and recently refurbished. The location point given by the Randonaut bot was behind the gas station, but I just wanted to head in the gas station to check it out and buy a few drinks. Well, the station smelled extremely bad, and it was humid and hot, making it really difficult to breathe. The first thing I noticed when I entered the station was the layout of the store. It was unusual. It looked like a cheap corner store in a really run-down neighborhood. Everything there was really outdated. It had some dirty and broken tiles, moldy ceiling panels, and stuff that looked like it had been on shelves for decades. I take a glance at the register, which was located at the back of the store, and I kid you not, I am a 6 feet male, and the lady at the cash had to be at least 7 foot tall. To be honest, she didn't even look human. She emanated this horrendous and terrifying aura that filled my entire body with fear. She just looked at me in disgust, as if I was invading her territory. This sense of dread that overcame my body kicked in my fight or flight senses. Something was not right. I quickly grabbed a pack of chocolates from the shelf and placed it on the register counter. I looked away from her, never meeting her gaze, while she handed me the card reader machine. I inserted my card in the machine when my card declined. It has never done this before. In fact, this card was relatively new, as I only had it for a few months. I assumed there was something wrong with the machine, so I reinserted my card into the chip reader, but it still didn't work. She then told me to try to swipe the card instead. I swiped it once, and after what felt like years of her intense gaze, the machine finally read my card. I got in my car and took out my phone, only to realize that my phone had completely shut off. I know for a fact that it had more than 50% battery life left, but for some reason it just shut off. It was bizarre to say the least. Not only did my card not work, but my phone didn't either. Fortunately, when I got back home, I plugged my phone to charge and it turned on completely normally. I checked the battery life and it was at 66%. The whole situation was very scary and downright uncomfortable. My card and my phone has never had any problems like that before, and never has had any of those problems since. At the time, I was living on campus at a university in Ohio. I generated a point which wasn't too far away, and it led me to a lamppost across the street. It was definitely somewhere I would never think to go to, especially at that time of day. While I was walking up to it, I decided to snap a picture so I could share my first location with the community. The community also encourages users to pick up any items found at the location to create a more random effect in their life, a sort of butterfly effect. Well, anyways, when I finally got up to the lamppost, I found a glove lying next to it, so I went to snap a picture of it. Except this time my phone froze. I decided my phone was just bad, so I snooped around a little more and started walking away. However, when I began walking away, my phone started working again. I decided to go back up to the lamppost to try and take a picture again, but this time my phone just turned off completely. To make a long story short, I went back to my dorm and my phone just turned on perfectly. The weird part is, though, when I checked my camera roll to post a picture to the sub, it was gone. Now, there are a lot cooler stories than this, but I mentioned this story because just the other day, someone commented on my video saying that their phone turned off at the exact moment I mentioned this happening. They are now trying out the bot for themselves. I went out for a late night walk with my friend. As we were walking and talking, I start telling her about this app, and we decide to find an attractor. A little backstory on my friend. She's an artist and for quite a while specialized in portraits. At one point, she was working on a project where she would paint portraits for families of children who had passed away. As we turned onto a street, she says,
"I think this is the street where that little girl died."
I am immediately kind of freaked out and asked her what she's talking about. It seems that several years ago, a little girl was abducted from a nearby school, brought to a house in this neighborhood, and murdered. As we got closer to the attractor point, it becomes clear that the point is going to be in the farthest back portion of someone's front yard. She says,
"Oh, it's on the other side of the street."
I'm still not exactly following what she means, so we walk to the end of the block and up the street so that we are on the other side of the attractor. And there is a small, beautiful little pocket park. Lots of flowers, benches, and little free library. She then proceeds to tell me that the house that used to be where this park is was the scene of that horrible crime. It was dozed down, and the park put there in remembrance of the little girl. And she had painted a portrait for the little girl's family after her death. I live in an urban area near a big park, and I have enjoyed visiting different attractor points, often with very cool synchronicities. and I love seeing people's photos and reading their experiences. Yesterday, I received an attractor point deep in a neighborhood I've never gone to. I was able to walk there and felt fine, enjoying the beautiful weather. I saw on Google Maps my attractor point was between a police station and a small business, and my first thought was, okay, at least I'll know I'll be safe checking out this block. When the police station came into view, I was overcome with fear and unease. I immediately took out my earbuds. No, I'm from a demographic that is hardly ever targeted by police, was never a victim of a serious crime, and I was raised to ask the friendly policeman for help, so seeing police doesn't usually come with a trigger. As I approached the attractor point, I realized that it's in a police impound lot. There are huge no trespassing signs, so I linger outside trying to get a view of the point, still uneasy and jumpy. All of a sudden I hear a police megaphone and a cop ask me to come closer to his car. He was very sternly asking what I'm doing, and I'm filled with fear. I don't know what to say. I was given this location? That doesn't sound good. He then tells me I need to go into the police station. He repeats this several times. Scared, I nodded yes and walked away. The entrance to the police station was out of his view, so I just walked away. The rest of the day I felt strange and uneasy, like I had did something wrong. A reaction and exaggeration of what was in hindsight a harmless interaction. First, I went to the wrong place because I got confused when giving the bot my location. I saw a nearby point on the map and thought the bot generated it. I went there, nothing much happened, then realized that the point was actually just a very bad representation of my supposed location. The location was actually what my phone thought was my location. The bot had not generated it. I did not have time to do any more, so next I tried the actual bot locations that day. I might add that while going here, I fully believed that it was legit. I did not realize it was a mistake location until later, but felt no foreboding on the way. But since it did not come from the bot, I do not consider that my first real trip. After some confusion, this time I correctly generated a random location. After work on a Friday, it was the cemetery in a nearby area I had never visited. I did not even know it was there. Now, I am not spooked by cemeteries. I even used to rent an apartment across from one, and I enjoyed the quiet neighbors. Still, it was a bit weird though. I drove there, but the gates were already closed for the day. I tried the cemetery again today, Sunday, after verifying it was open. I tried to call, and my phone froze completely, which it has never done. I couldn't even get the power button to work. But I found hours on the website with my laptop. I went there, and this time I did feel a sense of foreboding on the way. But hey, it is a cemetery, so who knows? I started walking towards the specific spot the bot generated. There were tons of fresh flowers around. Seems like most plots were full of people who died around the 80s to recently, but absolutely zero people walking around in the entire place other than way down by the main building near the road. Creepily, the bot spot turned out to be way in the back of the cemetery and was the exact start of a line of presumably empty cement grave liners. Some had wires on them, I assume so a machine can grab and lift them when they are needed. I was kinda creeped out. I decided to walk alongside them and then go visit a lake region that had many lines of housings for cremated ashes and containers. Most of the plaques were still blank. I felt a great sadness at that time. I kept thinking about people I knew who had died in the past, or might die in the future. Eventually, I walked back towards my car. I saw another car that had illegally parked behind me at a weird angle, even though there were tons of open parking spots all over. Then a very old hippie woman comes rushing out of the building. She looks right at me and says,
Sorry, but I had to go. I couldn't help it. I had to go.
I assumed that she had to go to the bathroom, but word choice was kinda creepy. She then began laughing, and I presumed that she was talking to her husband in the car, but she could be talking to me too. She smiled, got in the car, and drove off, and I did the same.